Hey guys, and welcome back to History Revision Success. So, I've got some really useful videos coming up in a new series that I want to record for you, all about how to answer the significance question on the AQA exam paper. Now, this question can be really tricky if you don't know exactly what you have to do. So, what I'm going to do in this specific video is explain an overview really fast to give you the basic instructions. And then what you need to go and do is watch the series I'm going to be uploading in the next couple of weeks, where I'm going to go through every single event. Now, my suggestion would be to use these to revise from, to make notes from, and then learn these essay plans as I'm going to explain at the end. So really quickly then, my teacher's insight, how to get full marks, how to get a grade 9 on this particular question. So first of all, we need to work out, what does significance mean? What does this question want you to do? Well, significance means importance, it means relevance, it means change. An event is significant if it's important, if it's relevant, if it changes things, okay? If it makes an impact on everyday life, whether that be in the immediate, short term, or the much longer, long term. Does it matter? Is it relevant? This change could be positive, it could be negative, okay? One mistake students make is they disregard changes if perhaps they're negative for the event as an outcome. Now, that's still very significant. It doesn't matter if it's better or worse for people, it just matters that it changed. That makes it significant, not whether it's good or whether it's bad. Now, in order to get full marks, first of all, we need a basic structure you can follow in any given event, okay? And here is my suggestion. So to get 8 out of 8, you need to have 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph, you're going to focus only on the short term, the immediate, the 10, 20, 30 years that follow the event. How does life change for people living in the time? And then you're going to look at long term. What happens over 100 years, 1,000 years? What is impacted or influenced from this one event much earlier on? Now, the reason we do this is that the 7 and 8 out of 8 level descriptor asks you to identify relationship. Okay, now we're going to do that by looking at over time. It's the easiest one to do. It's the surefire way to tick that box and be able to get into this category and make sure you do the job, rather than worrying about different aspects that could or could not be interpreted by different examiners in different ways. This one is simple. You're always going to get it right. So first of all, the short-term paragraph. As I said, the immediate sense. How does life change? Does it start something straight away? Now, as an example, I'll quickly run through Oliver Cromwell and the English Civil War. So in the short term, you could say that Charles having his head chopped off, the beginning of the Commonwealth, changed life for people quite significantly. First of all, Cromwell banned Christmas. He also banned sports. And he banned drinking alcohol. This was because he was a Puritan, and these were facets of everyday life for people of the time period that changed. If you lived in the Commonwealth at this time, your life would be significantly different, okay? And therefore, he is significant in the short term. You went from having a monarchy to having a leader who created a life under military rule for the first time. That's different, that's relevant, that's significant. In the long term, we think about the influence later on. Was it a precursor for greater change? What did it influence? Now, going back to our example of Oliver Cromwell, we can say that, first of all, England went from having an absolutist monarchy to having a constitutional monarchy. That was a very significant shift. So when Charles II came back to the throne, he has to sign the Declaration of Breda, which states he will abide by the Constitution. Now, prior to him, his father, Charles I, essentially He did live under some rules by government, but essentially we had what we call an absolutist monarchy. He could do what he wanted, okay? He was not bound by the constitution in the same way that Charles II was when he returned to the throne. Now, since Charles II, every monarch of England is bound by that constitution. They don't have the same rights and powers as they had before Charles I had his head chopped off. Another thing was that the standing army, the new model army created by Oliver Cromwell to win in the Civil War, was England's first standing army. So it was the first time England ever had what we call a standing army, which is where you pay the army full time. You pay them, you train them, they learn systems. Prior to this, England would send out the call and soldiers would come when they were needed. Now we have a standing army, it's here forever. Finally, we can say that the English Civil War inspired other events. For example, a particular document by the Levelers was used in the US Declaration of Independence and the US Constitution. So therefore, we can trace this event to an event that happens far later, much later on, and say it was inspired by the Civil War. So if you see, that's how we've broken apart things that impacted people in the short term versus things that impacted people in the longer term. And essentially, that's all we need to do. Now, that's an easy enough task. However, if you're sat in the exam trying to brainstorm these points, it's going to be very difficult to assure that grade 9. So one thing that I'm going to say is an absolute surefire way to get full marks on this question is you have to plan it in advance. Some people might find it easier to memorize these plans, and you go in and you sit down, you see what topic comes up, you know exactly what you're going to write. Others might feel comfortable having just planned them out in advance and then being able to, in their mind, in the exam, think back and roughly have an idea and be able to put that together on paper. So 3 really important things you need to do to make sure you get grade 9. You must plan, you must prepare, and then you must learn those plans to whatever extent you need to for your own ability. You must always be thinking of significance, relevance, importance, change. And my final thing is that to get the grade 9, I'm going to run you through in the following videos what I like to call academic points. Now, anyone can go to the textbook and they can work out aspects of significance. Some people will go beyond that and they'll go to the internet or they'll go to academic articles and they'll find really interesting high-level pieces of information about why these events are significant. And what I've done is found them for you, and I'm going to be running through all of those in the following videos on each particular event. So you can follow along, you can learn, and you can include really high-level academic points in your essays that you haven't just simply got from the textbook that will make you stand out. So there we are. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the videos. Make sure you watch them all and learn the essay points, plans, learn the set points. I'm going to give you set phrases, which are really high academic phrases with good vocabulary in them, and make sure you watch the series. So please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.